Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Koenig.
This is Rangru, hello, hello, hello.
And folks, monthly tournament time. Today on Shidilza, who do we have, sir?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have a Colonel Koenig playing Russell Spring with a Maverick income. Right-hand side in red, we have a P. Yuri Tanner playing Bactina, also with a Maverick income.
So, I mean, right now, of course, we have all the village people over on the right-hand side. But on the left-hand side, Russell Sprung, I mean, this feels like the monthly tournament must have been, you're not allowed to have real tanks.
What this is an infantry fight.
Oh, it's very much an infantry fight. I mean, and up top, I mean, this is how you know it's an infantry fight. When a 47 Mike kind of, scout car is scary, that's how you know this is an infantry fight.
Yeah. And we're seeing already P. Tanner. I think he was trying to hopefully rush to the position where the machine Cavalry was, but, well, that AG-18 in the scout car did stop him, and he's popped a lot of smoke very effectively to keep his troops alive, but... Oh, I guess he's going to be waiting for the ZIS-2s to come up to clean them up.
Yeah, that's probably the case, but even then, even bringing the ZIS-2s in, there we go, we have a nice slight moving to this side here, redeployment of that 47mm. And really, with that machine gun, not a whole lot's going to be happening, because those ZIS-2s can't put any fire on that machine gun, because, well, they can't. That IL-2 certainly can, though.
Going in for, actually, IG-18.
That is an interesting call. It does get a kill, but
yeah.
Looking elsewhere across the map, way down south, we have ourselves an AB-41, who's going to be, seen off quite a bit. We have some cadets moving up behind them. Actually, I don't know that we've ever really seen the cadetin over here being used, but they are surprisingly decent squads here.
Yeah, I mean, 15-point fanatical troops, that's really not bad. They can hold the line. They're okay firepower. I guess 5 SMGs is pretty good firepower. Just, you have to get in a bit close.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. By the way, worth mentioning up top, the scout car looks like it has departed this mortal coil. Though I can't see from where. It's just gone. And now we have one cadet squad coming up right behind that. IL-2's really being effective early on here, which is not too surprising. We have a concrete tank flying through the sky with all that firepower. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and Koenig doesn't exactly have the greatest anti-aircraft net. It's really single 20 mils, and then, the Crod flag filling. So he can actually fly around those IL-2s pretty effectively and a lot of fire support. And it does seem Tanner here is really trying to leverage his northern push. He's really investing, pretty much the majority of his forces to the north. So, I mean, both sides of Mavericks is pretty even in that regard. I'd be curious to see if he does manage to make it through the forest and pretty much secure the northern hilltop, because that can be a very cheap position to hold on to.
It can be, but I don't know that that's going to happen over here for Tanner. I mean, if you're looking at it right now, yes, it's fun to see a duck that's got, those 19 to maxims on it. But the thing about a Ford is that it's not really packing a lot of armor here.
Yeah, I think it's really going to come down to the flying armor, but we're also seeing interceptors being brought on in to try and deal with him. I mean, he can get infantry through the forest here, and now he even has some anti-aircraft set up. So, yeah, if he can really just get the infantry through the forest and win that CQC fight, that'll give him a very good position to, continue the rest of the attacks.
So early IL-2 kill, by the way, here too. So that's 105 points down the drain. That's actually not something you really want to be utilizing and losing so swiftly. You can see right now already, Colonel Koenig, 15-9. It picks up kind of some of those flags over here right along the midline, although that's going to be maybe minorly reconsolidated. I don't know.
Yeah, especially along the mid, Koenig can definitely put a little bit of pressure here, because Tanner has heavily invested himself up north. We're also seeing a little push from the southern northern position here, the whole group of the Sturms and the Autos, but Koenig's actually doing a pretty good job of bagging them in, bringing in the machine guns to pin them in. Because, yeah, really, Tanner's position, it's two, major strike groups, and like you said, there's not a whole lot of armor support backing them up here, or really a whole lot of ground fire support. It's just infantry spam.
It very much is. And one thing, actually, you have to go and just respect here is that while Russell Sprung is largely just a division with a really, really fun name to say, there is some hidden power here and there. And I have to kind of say, like, I have to really appreciate those Czech machine guns. They're cheapest chips, to use your old term there, and they're pretty solid for what they need to do.
Hmm. Yeah, and just like, we say constantly, like, having cheap light tank spam is always fantastic in 1v1, especially in a map like this, as it just gives you good cheap fire support, because just a little bit of armor is better than no armor, and that's kind of a problem here with Tanner's deck. He does have T-34 76s, which will be some of the more powerful tanks available on this battlefield, but he doesn't have a whole lot of cheap spam. He has a card of BA-10s, and yeah, that's really it. So if Colonel Koenig can just, spread out his Panzer IIs, his French tanks all over the place, he can just, leverage his fire support much better.
Yeah, he absolutely can. And frankly, if you're looking at Shidilsa, it doesn't seem like it on the surface, but it really is a more of a knife fighty map, I would argue.
Oh, 100%.
So you're looking outside these slopes, the slopes themselves, if you're on top of the slope looking down, you're in great shape. But once you have guys in the same kind of elevation as you, it's really, really ugly. And you can see right there, for example, the AB-41 in that north central, just on top of that north hillside, all those forwards came down that track, all those forwards got picked up.
Yeah, a nice little sneaky position. And if you also look down south, it seems Koenig is trying to dictate the pressure of this match. And actually bringing in a pretty sizable force here, especially compared to what we can see in Tanner's defense. If he can do this, that would definitely put a real swing into this northern assault and definitely force Tanner to start, investing some troops down south.
Well, the funny thing about this is a Stoffstiega kind of edge guarding, not knowing that the PTRS squad's already behind the lines.
Oh,
which is
really?
unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, but it's really quite funny regardless.
That's a very sneaky position there.
It certainly is. But the attack is slowly kicking off, and I really must emphasize the slowly part. One cadet squad kind of schlumping to the front. And take a look over here real quick at the actual artillery. Trying to think about why we're not seeing German guns to match the Russians. And it's because they don't have any right now. So that's a bit of an issue. That 105 has already actually demonstrated its worth on the battle space by engaging and taking out a good chunk of that Czech machine gun.
Yeah. It's going to be really down to Tanner here to use his artillery quite effectively to make up for the lack of light tank direct fire support. He needs him to start, pounding these positions, because honestly, Tanner's initial push up north has been pretty lackluster. He's managed to capture the town and push a little bit ahead, but Colonel Koenig has set up a very good defensive line pretty much along the rim of the hill, and just as long as he doesn't lose any slope position on the hill to deny reinforcements, he can just funnel in troops uphill in that CQC knife fight, and both sides are infantry spam divisions, so they have infantry for days.
Well, the other thing here too is you look down south, he's not overextending. I say he, of course, we're talking about Colonel Koenig in this moment. He's not overextending. He's coming up, he's taking a flag, he's bringing in troops to consolidate. He's coming up, he's taking a flag, he's pushing troops to consolidate. It was a 14-10, now it's a 13-11 going the other direction here. And you got to really appreciate when there is that kind of resistance, and then that kind of, well, to use the term I think we would kind of often hear, consolidation.
Yeah, it's very smart that he isn't going too hard down south, because holding that light forest position, his Panzer II can provide, perfect fire support and help out. Oh, he is going to be going for the continual attack. Because, yeah, from this position here, down south, it's going to be very hard for him to really gain any more flags. He can probably set up a good defensive line around the edge of the forest, but that's probably going to be it. Well,
I disagree. Move that P2 about 150 meters to the northeast, and at that point you see the town.
Oh, yeah.
And that right there, yes, the PTRSs, I think, might just barely have range on him. 400 meters, it might be a little tight. Nah, they're not going to have that. Never mind. So, yeah, he can come up, get eyes on, and start absolutely pounding that town. So, I mean, there's a lot to celebrate, I would argue.
But also, Tanner, as well, has still not invested a whole lot down south, because this could still be a pretty good opportunity here for Koenig, just with the lack of forces up against him. He doesn't really know yet, because he doesn't, it's pretty hard to get recon in such a heavily forested area. If he was to, figure out the momentum, the feeling you have to have on the front line, he could maybe actually make something pretty major happen here.
That's true. That's true. And even while this is happening down south, I mean, there's a Spitfire coming up overhead. She's going to get some recon. Northern side, the Chernihiv Bushlati and the Morskaya Automachiki and Morskaya kind of Konroti kind of getting forced back by Gebirgsjägers, Fallschirmjägers, Gebirgspioneers. Like this is a rolling attack at differing points along the line that right now Tanner just doesn't have massed firepower to deal with, which is a weird thing to say about the Russians.
Yeah, especially with Bakhtina, because they have some really bloody good infantry squads here. Unfortunately, Russelsprung, they came out later, so they've been a little bit more power creeped, of course. And their infantry, I mean, just look at the SS Geb Pioneers. 15 Dooge and jerry can bombs. That's an explosive party.
It is. It is. And you got to go and respect the fact that they're confident enough to bring, let's say, slightly more racist terms like jerry cans to the front line. But, that just speaks to the stoutness of their resolve. The Raider trait doesn't hurt either, though.
Oh. Yeah, honestly, just Koenig has done a very good job of, shutting down Tanner's northern assault here. And he just has a very good, layered defense. He has all his infantry in front, and then behind he has all his light tanks, pretty much just act as a, rear line screening force. So if Tanner tries to do another push, I mean, it's only going to be autocannon or 47mm fire, but Tanner currently doesn't have the armored fire support to deal with it.
Well, here's the other weird thing, too, is actually we're seeing a bit of a rolling attack happening across the line. Yes, there's a Maxim right now engaging 2 Fallschirmjäger squads out in the open, but you're seeing teeny tiny cauldrons kind of being set up. He sees one little kind of overextended unit, he kind of pinches it off, smothers it out. And I actually really like the fact that we're seeing... Ooh, IL-2 is actually going to shut this down pretty hardcore. Here we go. No. He lost sight of them, I guess.
Oh. And the fighters coming in immediately. Very good call from Koenig.
But here's the issue. There's also now... opposition fire that's coming out here. So,
5.
Yeah, exactly. The Veltro over here is not really one you want to be dancing with. But hey, the 20 mils will be enough to kind of push them back. And we are seeing, Maxims. There were several Maxims in the trees, and we are seeing a couple of them pinned down. One's been taken out, and we're seeing this kind of like teeny tiny death by 1,000 cuts kind of approach, which I really have to appreciate.
Yeah, it's just. The light tanks are definitely helping out quite a bit. We are seeing Tanner actually invest now in some T-34 76s. They may as well be Jagdpanzer 4s in this sort of matchup here. And it's going to be extremely important for Tanner to get some very efficient trades with these tanks, because at long range they can beat out the entirety of the Russelsprung tank line essentially. So he needs to, the classic 13-to-1 KD ratio. We need to be seen from those T-34s. They need to be the Tigers they want to be.
And not the POSs that they are at this time in the war? Yeah. Well, 105s in the meantime, 76-2s. I always want to call them 105s. I'm so used to that being the kind of artillery caliber. They're trying to pick up and pick apart the Flak Vierling that's just been set up, which is quite funny for me, and also completely understandable. Well, while they are doing that, that's still giving time for other positions to slowly get reduced. They're still at a 13-11. Down south, actually, ooh, here we go. Super down south. All these Chernihiv, Bushlati getting pushed on in with a Strafniki kind of backing them up. This will be hard to stop.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty nasty force, and even just having those few anti-tank rifles will help out a bit against just that one Panzer II, because that Panzer II could really shut down that attack. But yeah, once again, it's going to come down to just fire support. He needs some sort of preliminary bombardment or IL-2 bomb and run, really soften up those troops. There we go, look at that, perfect timing.
Now, the issue here, though, is if these cadets take out the Otsnas in the northern part of this forest, they actually could theoretically get into a position to engage the Chernihiv Bushlati while they're actually out in the open. And that would be a bit of a problem.
T-34 coming in clutch to provide some long-range fire support. Yeah, this is really a time here for Tanner. There we go. He's got the attack move. He waited for the artillery to actually stop firing. Kind of a crazy idea. I usually don't do that.
Why would you? That's just, more saints for the motherland's defense.
It's motivation to run faster so you can get out of it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Now there is a 105 down south that is going to be engaged in the infantry. Unfortunately, the rounds are dropping about 300 meters long. And as all of this German infantry comes streaming back the other direction, don't look now, but still a 15-9, and don't look now again, but the middle hillside that's actually taken, the Fallschirmjägers that are actually there, aren't able to be engaged by anybody else.
Oh, that's a pretty nice little position, yeah. Just holding that flag for the +2 is pretty huge, especially at we're, halfway through B phase now. And, once you get to C phase, it's a classic thing we see time and time again. It's very hard to attack once you get to that point. Maverick on Maverick.
It truly, truly is. Now, this push down south has not been quite as effective as I had envisioned it was going to be. I mean, we do have the 76-2s trying to find... Oh, they're going for that town. That's a curious decision, but alright. Leaving behind, one by one, all these kind of valiant squads are getting killed. And even more so, there's a Pack 40 might be able to engage this D-34 out in the open. And like you said, those things might as well be, Jagdpanzers or Hetzers or King Tigers, but there still are only potentially 12 of them.
Yes, which is not a whole lot, considering that's your only, proper tank available in your entire division. And Roster Spring may not have the tanks, but as you see, they have Pack 40s. And Pack 40s are pretty good at blowing up T-34s, if I recall.
Yes, they are. And if that's not the case, they're going to bring in death squads of AB-41s, which is about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know if Yuri Tanner over here has cracked the enigma that the Germans are using, but wherever artillery fires, his infantry is never around, so it's very, very well done.
Been able to evade that, but he is losing frontline support. I mean, up north he's lost a little bit of position in the air as he's got kicked out of that forest right by the crossroad flag, and he's just, once again, it really just feels like he's just lacking ground-based fire support here. I mean, just looking up north, Koenig has IG-18s, Czech machine guns, light tanks. But Tanner got some anti-air, he's got some GIS-2s, but that's really it. It's just, foot sloggers on the ground actually holding the line, and it's preferable if they have some high explosive backing them up.
Yes, what I'm hearing you saying, though, is that basically with those machine guns, it's checkmate.
Yes, Khan.
Okay.
Checkmate.
Okay. Checkmate indeed. Now, looking past the dad jokes and the horrible observations, we are seeing a renewed push down south. And the single 105 is still engaging. The 76-2s are starting to pound the front lines. And I think that's why these AP-41s are being brought on in. They should be shutting down this push. Not well, mind you, because there still are Strafniki and every Bush-Lefty squad has a PTRD. But there's potential.
Yeah, so I also do like how Tanner does have the trifecta of mortar bikes. It's been a while since we've seen mortar bikes. What a fun unit. And in this type of fight, that actually can provide some pretty good fire support, just considering how Koenig's infantry is very bunched up. It's going to come down to really if he can deal with these AB-41s. I think just a little bit good positioning with all his PTRDs is too difficult.
We're seeing rapid redeployment, which is great, except for a couple of things. One is that his own infantry is still caught out on the turn. And the AB-41s, despite the fact that they can be engaged, are not being engaged. And that therein, as the Bard would say, is the rub.
Yeah, and he's managed to pick off these journeys one by one, and that's really the death nail for him. You want to try to get them all firing at once, so one or two of those ABs go down before you get fully stunned here. I mean, this is great mortar play from Tanner. He's done a fantastic job stressing out the infantry, but his cavalry assault has pretty much killed the push.
Exactly. And while stress is the silent killer, in this kind of game, you have to be a little more active with that kind of death spreading. And wait, just looking at the northern side, I just saw a bunch of blue icons all the way to the right side of my screen. That's nothing there. Okay. So 76-2 gets taken out. We have all these more Sky Superiors being brought on in. And heck, this P2 down here might as well be a P4.
Yeah. P2 scratch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about it. This guy down here. Technically, the PTRDs can't kill him. Well, from the front, theoretically.
They're going to have a hard time. But no, you're right. Just that little basic fire support here. I mean, the IG-18s are moving out in the open. And Tanner's infantry just can't really do anything. He just can't really do anything because he's kind of at the position now where you're kind of fighting over these fortress forests. There's a little bit of open ground and forest and town. and you really do need some long-range HE. I mean, he has Zis-2s, and Zis-2s are great at blowing up tanks, but he doesn't need, you know, tank openers. He needs infantry openers.
Well, he's got one tank down south, and I kind of wonder if there's going to be a moment when every AB-41 just starts to engage every single, you know, in this case, T-34 that's down there. But they see him, so everyone is running for the hills. We have like 7 AB-41s bolting back west.
Run away!
Exactly. They bravely turned and fled.
You know, they did their job. They came in, they did the cavalry charge, and, you know, this is actually kind of rare seeing a Steel Division 2 player, like, actually try to preserve their units' lives. I'd be curious to see if he actually, like, redeploys them to do some... You know, you could probably do, like, a cheesy push up north and try to get up the hill.
Well, one place he's not trying to, you know, save his own troops' lives is that up the northern side, there's this too that has now caused the P2 to be stuck. And I imagine he's going to be able... They got this Italian tank. Yep, shooter killed. That's going to be bad. Real bad.
Yeah, now finally Tanner's got some 76mm guns, which he desperately needs to try and stymie his infantry push, because by God, there's an infantry push happening up north. The Brandenburgs and the Strifes and the Moskayas really aren't in a good position here, so he should be able to get into that town, and that's going to be tough for Tanner to deal with.
I do want to call out real quick, first things first, that we actually have a DO-17 coming here to the south. Tons and tons of bombs sprinkled liberally all over the forest. Unfortunately, I think a lot of those are going to fall long from where you really, really ideally wanted them. The other thing here, too, is all the AB-41s blowing through the town, just, like, hammering on through. Just doing, like, some real Chad stuff. And they start to engage all the superiors, I'm pretty sure. Or, heck, the Strafniki are going to start picking off one by one, maybe? I couldn't tell you. But it's quite a nuisance to watch, let's just put it that way.
Your T-34 on the hill should be able to provide some effective fire support here. He just needs to keep on charging. They're like sharks. If they stop, they're going to die.
Exactly. It's like I'm watching a gangster movie. It's just like, okay, boys, run and gun. Just get out of here.
Unload the Tommy gun.
It's practically what they're spraying over here with the 20mm HE. So, of the 7 that make the charge, 4 make it through. It's actually a pretty decent survival rate.
Honestly, not bad. And at this point, you know, if you were to spread them out guerrilla warfare style, put them in the light forest and just be a pain in the ass, that would actually be pretty good value out of him. What is he doing? Oh, yeah, he's going to go north.
I was going to say, I was hoping he was going to do that. So I was like, if he takes the artillery park, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And Tanner now, he needs to get the recon planes up to know what the hell his guerrilla forces doing behind his lines.
Well, and that's the thing is, so if you go south, there's the mortars. That's still very, very valuable, just less valuable right now than taking out the artillery park. You go north, takes out the artillery park, that gets real dicey real quick. They're already starting to see the stroke, the SVTs. So he's just kind of lofting some rounds downrange, just saying hi to people. And the SVT Strelkies are not going to be able to be, well, enough. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
And this is kind of the problem here for Tanner. He doesn't have anything really cheap or effective to deal with this. He doesn't have 45mm guns. He doesn't, and he has some T-34s, but he's been through a lot of them. Okay, he does have some Su-57s.
I was literally going to say, yeah, the Su-57s would have been perfect for this. This is what they're made for. Yeah. But they're not in the right position. And while these 76-2s can and will engage, especially since for some reason the AB-41s have not deigned to start engaging just yet. There we go.
Oh yeah, I forgot the 76-2 is pretty much an anti-tank gun.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
It has a slow rate of fire, as we can see. And Koenig is actually going to kind of make it back to his front lines.
Well, there's like a Jeb Stuart ride through Carlisle kind of cavalry raid. It's like Gettysburg is going on all over the place. He's like, yeah, guys, look, I'm in the papers. But, you know, it's very, very curious. I mean, another flag's going to get picked up because 2 artillery positions are gone. 1 artillery is dead. 2 more remain. But as of right now, who cares? Like, this is fine. He just continues to continue to be a nuisance. It's wonderful.
Yeah, those AB-41s are just absolutely deadly here. Now, I mean, Tanner has been able to regain that southern forest position, but well, the rest of the map, especially in the center, is just, it's not ruptured, but just across the entirety of the front, Koenig has made, you know, good 10-20% gains all over.
Well, and that's the important thing too. You're working out. You want some gains. You just got to make sure you put the right kind of brand of, let's say, power into your body. And right now, we're not talking to Mother. It seems to be Father's Day happening right about now, or the Fatherland anyway. One or the other. Except the last 76-2, we'll probably take out this last AB-41. Yep, there we go. So the last of the heroic scout cars is dead. Well, like you said, this isn't a ruptured front line, but it is a sagging one.
Yeah. It's like Tanner has like these small little pockets of resistance left, but I think Koenig is displayed so effectively, and he still has a lot of very scary infantry. I mean, look just far up north. There's still a bunch of very angry SS and burger dudes ready to go down on Tanner's Strelky line.
Here's the weird thing, too, is that given a long enough timeline, the T-34s actually could engage and kill everything on the map. The problem is, we don't have a long enough timeline. We have 3 minutes and 35 seconds, unless flags start falling the other direction.
Mm-hmm. And even then, they still have to be careful with Pack 38s and Pack 40s. And if you're, Koenig here, you're not, like, engaging with the T-34s, you're just staying behind in the forest and using them as a area of denial tool.
And even more than that, we'll see Smoky squads match up very effectively against massively wounded Fallschirmjäger squads. But, okay, cool. Every single bit of your strength I can kind of go and suck from you before you get to the front lines is perfectly fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see down south, I'm sorry, mortar bikes might be engaged by this Gebirgsjäger who's going to be trying to find those demons have been shelling his friends for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, and at 18-6, it's... I don't think Tanner's going to win this one, Khan. I have a hunch.
I think you are correct. I think you speak the true. And I think it's just one of those things, and unfortunately, it's not a matter of Baktina not being a good division under its own kind of circumstances. I just feel like they just have not been able to really kind of, kind of show what they can do. They've been rather rough seas, if you catch my drift.
They usually work pretty well against more regular divisions, as we've seen in the past. Divisions which actually have real tanks and usually have a bit more weaknesses, right? Because you have the ZIS-2s, you have like decent infantry anti-tank. But against just light tank spam division with, super elite power creep, DOC infantry, yeah, the Baktina infantry good, but they're not that good, and the lack of just cheap fire support. I mean, this entire match pretty much comes down to cheap fire support. Really screws you over. Pretty much your tools in Baktina, especially just the ZIS-2s, are much better designed for dealing with, opponents more, I wouldn't say technologically advanced, but more heavily armored than you. You're not good, punching downwards.
It's weird to think that part of a division could be paid to win in SD2. But I catch your drift with that. I really, really do.
It's been... We can take a look at some of the raw game DLCs.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. No, without a doubt. Koenig apparently lost more than Tanner reported, so we had some friendly fire apparently happening here.
Just happy little accidents, Khan.
Exactly. Artilleryman. You show your own troops are happy little accidents. Just make more red splatter on the ground. Add more red to your canvas. That is the world. T-34 over here picking off a couple APWs. Or SPWs, excuse me. It's this dude Kozuk over here has himself a nice, was that 6 kills? 5 kills? 6 kills. But outside of them, you go to the other side. You have one cadet who's killed more than his fair share. And I'm not going to say that the AVW cavalry charge was like the winner for this, but at the same time, you have to go and respect an AVW cavalry charge.
Yeah, I honestly did a very good job of disrupting Tanner's lines. And I could definitely imagine from Tanner's perspective, that's really bloody annoying to deal with. Like, oh, this armored car line's, behind my line. He probably could have been a bit more proactive, like bringing SU-57s and the Spitfires out to try to scout out. I just think probably Micro Rise, who's much more distracted of, hey, I need to make sure my front line doesn't completely collapse, and then the recon cars come in from behind and blow up your rear line.
True. But I mean, there wasn't a good choice or a bad choice at that point to go north or south. South, he would have picked up the mortar bikes, which would have been just fine. North, he disrupts the artillery park, which, to be fair, we know they didn't have a whole lot of ammo left, but there's no way that Koenig could have known that. Regardless, well played on both sides. It's just that Russell Sprung just was able just to spam the front lines that much more effectively.
Those ABs are pretty good.
Not just decent grades, also pretty decent cars in this case.
Yes.
Any final thoughts, sir?
No.
Folks, in that case, then until next time, I'm Conor Work.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.